What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of Back Your Play with Q. Rich Quinones here, brought to you by our very good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clemens Road, Deptford, New Jersey. Hey, we know the weather's breaking a little bit, but they have a ton of skiing equipment, accessories, snowboard, skis, everything you need. Right now, they're running a great sale, 20 to 70% off through the end of the month. And keep it locked into BYP with Q. We'll give you some more insight on their big President's Day sale, but they still got all the tees, the hats, the merch, the helmets, the cleats, the golf equipment, so much more. Also, one of their new locations, Livingston, we mentioned it as well. All you have to do is go online, playitagainsports.com. You put in the location, you can get all the store hours, and you can save a bundle. And they give you some really good money back as well for your used sports equipment and more. With that, Super Bowl 58 right around the corner. The prop joins us. Always good to talk to Professor Shine. So we're going to go through a lot in a kind of abbreviated edition. We got so many props to get into. We got mergers coming with ESPN, Fox, who knows what the hell's going on. And then we got the hoodie, not the one you're wearing, but we have the hoodie who decided that, you know what, I'm not taking this Atlanta gig. That, of course, Bill Belichick spurring, if you will, the Atlanta Falcons. And you mentioned it last week, right? We were talking about Belichick, where he might land, if it's not going to be a good fit or not. And then we learned that it was Belichick that decides, I don't want to take this gig.
It's a little bit different narrative from nobody wants Bill to maybe Bill doesn't want maybe Bill doesn't want you. If you look through anything in the media, now Sports Illustrated's going, who do you read? I don't know. It's just whatever pops up my timeline. I might take a look at it. I might read Peter King or years ago was USA Today was a rag, except I think, was it Forbes?
Yep.
Gordon Forbes used to write that. I liked him, but outside of that, I just kind of, cherry pick, and now it's a quick blurb. So, but topics like this, I kind of did a little bit of a search, and I didn't see anything. I didn't read any of the New England, Boston papers yet, and I didn't read the Post, but I haven't seen anybody say, there could be better jobs next year that could open up. That's
100%.
So I think everybody's kind of looking at it from, these teams need a coach, this team needs a coach. And, the initial narrative was kind of weird because it's like, oh yeah, nobody wants Bill. To now he was like, what? I have some reservations about Atlanta, but anybody that's following sports even peripherally knows that Atlanta has some issues. It's not a home run. The only real home run was San Diego, the Chargers. So, because they have a quarterback, they have some talent. I don't know what their cap space is. Anybody can look it up. Their challenges are, they're like, the 50th most important thing in LA.
Exactly.
But, once you win, people like winners. If you go there and win, people like Harbaugh. He's a polarizing guy, but he is entertaining and people follow. So, but outside of that, why would it makes sense that the hoodie wouldn't want to, the options aren't that great this year. He could walk into any studio booth and make a few million and then hang out till next year. How do you know if Dallas goes,
Well, 3 teams out of the NFC East, Dallas, the Giants, and the Eagles. I mean, listen, Sirianni's a lame duck. I think Brian Daboll, to some extent, is a lame duck. And who knows what the hell's going on in Dallas, even though.
What if the Jets win? What if the Jets win 10 games?
Yeah.
And there's some internal, or they have maybe one game. There's so many scenarios. People I respect that told you before, they said there's no way Woody Johnson would ever hire Belichick, but I don't know. It's just, what if Rodgers, what if they don't do as well or they do okay?
We mentioned this.
Rodgers doesn't say, listen,
bring him in.
Let's bring him in. There's a lot of other things that can there's a lot of other jobs that can happen. And this goes to the offensive coordinator of the Lions. I'm fascinated with some of these things. I just told you how we consume the media now, and you have to be careful because something that popped up on my timeline was killing, what's his name? Roberts?
Yep.
Killing him. because apparently the agent texted him back, the brass for the command skins, and said, we decided not to take the job, and they were already on the plane to come to Detroit. So it was really a slanted article, basically killing the coordinator and lauding the commands. You don't do that. The anonymous source said, you don't do that in the league. This is the Commanders, or Daniel Snyder, the home of where Daniel Snyder blackmailed the league. Made the cheerleaders like strip on the road. You know what I mean? He's the worst owner in the history of the world, pretty much. They're going to point the finger at somebody saying, that's not how you do things in the league. But then I look at who the author of the article is, and it's some guy who is like he runs a pod. He's a Redskin fan, Commander fan. So he's completely biased, and he's butthurt because the coordinator didn't take the job. So it's just the conflicts of interest and the way these things are slanted. But that's what Twitter's for. I got on Twitter for my measly amount of people that give a shit. I got on there and said, you gotta remember, think of it, this is real life. He's interviewing that team. He has a job.
Of course.
Like the guy sitting at home. You know what I mean? He's like he's a middle manager at AstraZeneca or something. Like the guy has a job.
Yeah.
So when you go to that job, he's interviewed. It's no different than when you go for a job. You're going to go and be like, Richie, how come you didn't take that job in Australia? Because they didn't give me enough money to move to Australia. Whatever the case, that you're interviewing them too. And I think fans tend to not think about that. They're like, oh, why would you not want that job? It's almost like that thing when people say, somebody turns down. Remember, Cliff Lee came here and he made like $8 million last dollars. People are like,
why would you do
turn
that?
out $8 million? You must really want to come here. And if somebody else he's got enough. I said, well, how do you know? How do you know he's got enough? I might have 8 kids and 6 wives, ex-wives. I don't know, So it's just funny. It's like people turn their brains off when it comes to sports. Plus, maybe I'm wrong altogether. Rob just wants to stay at Detroit because he thinks the Vikings aren't great. Green Bay's beatable.
Right.
And they're not afraid of Green Bay. It's not like it's a ridiculously terrible. You have to stay healthy. But that was my take. I just thought it was interesting. Nobody came on the side of the coach.
Yeah.
It's almost like everything's pro owner.
Of course.
Pro owner. What are you talking about? And he's got to uproot his family. We talked briefly about, the Raiders signed the Chargers ex-GM. Mark Davis signed him. And, that guy, that GM, he lives in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if he got offered, I don't know, who's up for GM? Who's missing a GM? I don't know. I just throw it out there. Let's say, I don't know, Commanders wanted to hire him. You know what that offer would have to be for that dude to sell his house? He's got 4 kids. He's in LA.
Right. To uproot everything.
How do you turn down that job? His entire life's over there. He might have taken less money to go to the Raiders. But the GM's slightly different because they're not really negotiating. But you get my point. It's just like you don't have anything out there that's, or you have to like dig into it. And then the Ringer might put something out, but it's like a week and a half later. Because they have to call people up or what. I just thought that was interesting. And I think the league is better with Belichick in it. There has been some people talking, maybe the game's passed them by. They're not going to give him a
I don't buy that.
I think someone's going to hire.
There's because it's instant credibility. Instant credibility. You look at his track record and his resume and you say, why wouldn't you? You'll do it his way, the Patriots way, the Belichick way. And it's worked over 20-something odd years.
I think he'd be more inclined to give up power with
he has to at this point.
Of who's there. What quarterback's there. You see there's a press conference. Not press conference, I guess addressed the media thing, or maybe he was just talking in front of microphones, was the ex-Temple guy that I like, Rule. So
yeah, talking about Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I was overruled. Come on, that happens. There was an old story I heard back in the Colts that you're talking when Jim Mora was there. So it's before the Dunge.
Yep.
And Manning was, Manning's first year was tough because his whole team stunk. The last year with Falk and whatever. The next year they won the division. So it was right around that time. And the story I heard was that Moore went into they have all the things on the board, all the players and how they were structured was like people would talk about it. All right, who do you also have him up? There was like a brainstorm thing, and Moore was going, every time a player came up that he didn't like, he was like, oh, they kicked him out of the meeting. They threw it out. They were like, Jim, come on, don't you have something else to do?
Well, it is a lot of Monday morning.
He gave up the power, because the other people there.
Yeah.
So, not everybody's going to get full say, but when you go, if anybody was going to get it, was going to be Belichick. But now I think he's going to have to regress. I think he would give up some power, say at the Jets, if you have Aaron Rodgers, or somewhere else where they have the top pick.
Yeah.
I think he would. There's a sliding scale. Some people might disagree with me. There's a couple of Patriots fans that I follow on Twitter, and they give me information, and they're like, listen. I'd watched this closely. His last 4 years, he was all in on himself, and it kind of blew up his face. But the Post article we mentioned a couple weeks ago was, and that guy's kind of reputable, but he said, this was a power grab between him and Kraft and the Sun, and Belichick gambled that Brady would not win a Super Bowl.
Correct.
So even if he lost at any point, even in the Super Bowl,
it
would have looked better because he was going on straight numbers of people 36 years old that play quarterback. The law of diminishing returns exists, and he couldn't justify giving Brady all that money. He gambled and lost. That it could just be as basic as that. Look at this guy. We got rid of this guy and he won the Super Bowl. So. That's that. And he's going to get a job. We're in agreement. I think other people are in agreement with us. I don't think he slipped. We both agree there.
Yeah.
But I like that, I think it's funny the story came out, 2 weeks later that he
changes the narrative.
Yeah, it definitely does. I do want to mention briefly about the Lions because we didn't come on last week, not because I was so aggravated. Listen, it was a close game. Again, another weird narrative of, Campbell blew the game. How about I have an argument with somebody or disagreement with somebody who follows this relatively closer? He's not a good gambler or anything. He's the kind of guy to call you and be like, hey, I'm stuck. I need a pick. And I give him 3 and they go 2-1 and he loses money because he wheeled a parlay or something. He's one of those guys. But he's not a dumb guy. And he just said, Campbell blew the game. And I was like, well, what should he have done? And it's funny because I have one person that agreed with me. It was like a group. Not one person agreed. So I said, well, the Gibbs fumble was kind of important. How about not one guy remember the Gibbs fumble?
It's a turning point.
How do you not remember the Gibbs fumble?
Because it's after they actually, when that happened with the failed 4th down, San Francisco scored. The next ensuing possession, Detroit had it, and they fumbled, and then San Fran scored again. So, I mean,
there's 2 plays at 24-10.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they had the momentum. Okay. They went down the field. They stopped them. It was 3rd and goal from the 7.
Yep. Yeah.
That's not a big play. What's the percentage of getting in from the 7 on 3rd down? It's not like it's, some ridiculous. In other words, 3rd and goal from the 7, your defense has a good chance
to stop,
to hold them to a field goal.
24-13.
It's like they didn't. Who cares? Who
Yeah.
cares? That's the big play. Nobody even knows what I'm talking about. Why?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what it is? It's because as soon as the game comes out, everybody thinks, "Oh, why didn't he kick the field goal?" And what's lost is the field goal is not automatic. You don't
with that kicker too. That's the other thing.
Outside of Turner, well, here's the other narrative. Well, if you don't have a good kicker, go get a good kicker. Well, they don't grow on trees.
Yeah, it's
No.
late in the season, playoff time. Come on.
Yeah, but that was a weird from
So
now.
my only argument, and I went back and forth as well. This is who he is. Reynolds just make the catch, number one. Second time, that was on, it was a bad play design. I guess it was, you should, if you're going to draw up that play, it shouldn't be for that kid. It should be either for Brown or say the running back, the kid out of the backfield. That would be my only argument when you're talking
Well,
about
when the play doesn't work, everybody looks at the plays.
Of course, because it's
how
Monday
about
morning
nobody
quarterback.
remembered? Nobody. I tweeted like 30 times. Don't matter. I just, the national media will just push this. How wrong it was. How wrong it was. How wrong it was. Hall of Fame broadcasting guys. Vince Lombardi. He didn't go for 4th and 1. I mean, I feel like I'm trapped with like insane people. But then you find I had a surprising person who agreed with me, was Ryan Clark, ESPN. And he said exactly what I said. He goes, if you go for the field goal and you miss, how are you going to look at the team, the guys? You trust me?
You've gone for it all season long.
You trust me against the Cardinals,
yeah,
and against the Chargers, but you don't trust me when it matters.
Been most. Aggressive all season long. Why change?
Listen, this is a team thing, and a lot of people. This is another backing up. My opinion is, if you're not thinking at least a little bit out of the box, you're a dinosaur. Like you're not, and this isn't me. People killed a messenger. You're crazy or whatever. So every team in the league has a analytics department.
Of course they do.
You know how big Jacksonville's is? What's his name? Shahid. What's his last name? Khan, the owner of Jacksonville. Yeah. His son went to MIT.
Yeah, so for a fact they have.
He's a math guy. He's ahead of their analytics department. It's like
right. Plus, if they're running on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, you can bet your ass they're going to go for it on 4th down. It's just
so these interviews when they're interviewing the coaches. I think one of the reasons Morris might have gotten hired is, that's a part of the interview.
Yeah,
where they might say, "Hey, listen, I want you to meet Rich and these guys. This is going to be hard." What's the movie with Gosling and those guys? This is my quant, and it's my quant, like my what? My quantitative. Well, these are our guys.
Yeah.
The Moneyball movie. The guy who wrote Moneyball, Michael Lewis, this guy, The Big Short. So he goes, "Hey, this is my quant." Right. What the hell's that? That might be part of the interview. I know for a fact it was in San Diego for the Chargers. I know that Staley doesn't get the job unless they say, "Hey, here's kind of where we're at." Now, a team like the Patriots didn't have a big analytics department. I think it's because of Belichick.
It was
He's
a Belichick.
The first guy.
Some teams are late. The Giants were the same way.
Well, I don't think he thinks he's like, "Hey, I've already been doing this." Like somebody who hires Chip Kelly, they're going to say, "Well, let's go back and look at the times I went for 4th and 2. Like I'm on the same page as this. Nobody's going like this though, Richie. Nobody's going, "Oh, the chart says this." You're going by the model. And then I think you prepare for it. The Lions prepare for it. And here's how you prepare for it. When camp starts, it's a part of your practice session. There's different sessions. If you've ever been to practices,
100%.
They do 10 or all 15 minutes, whatever. The one that's short yardage get extended. That they extend it. So I know what the data says about what 4th and 2 from the 30 is as far as conversion. I think all the data, depending on what model, they're never that far off, but it's right around 52, 53, 54%. You can increase that percentage by your practicing those plays. That doesn't mean that they're going to work every time. But if you're that team, I bring up all the time what Sirianni did in the Super Bowl. Go back and watch the Super Bowl. And everybody's baffled. I know exactly what he's doing. Eagles fans are baffled. They're 3rd and 8. And, was it Collinsworth? He's going, I don't know why he's running that play. They're running a draw.
Because you knew they were going for it on 4th.
And it's 4th and 2.5. Sirianni didn't give a shit. He wanted to be at 4th and 2.5. And he's Peterson does it too. How about nobody remembers except for the you know, the math guys, or like I say, the guys who know what they're talking about.
Right.
What Peterson did against the Chargers. Bosa throws his helmet twice. They didn't go for the extra point yet. He moves them a yard. Peterson goes for it. They get it to be down 2. Now, you know, he did it this year, then here, they didn't get it, and it screwed up a bunch of people who had plus 3.5. But he went for it against the Chargers. Now they're down 2. So now you kick a field goal. The downside is, well, we got to score a touchdown. That frees you up, though, where you might be a little bit more loose.
Right.
I know it's harder to score a touchdown, but listen, the studies are all there about how risk averse humans are, people are in general. There's plenty of stuff. If you Google, there's papers written on it. So I'm not surprised that fans are thinking, or even people in the media think right away about the bad side. What if you don't get it? Oh my God, the momentum. What about the momentum? You're just as likely to stop the team after a missed field goal or a made field goal.
It's just magnified because it was twice and then it was a snowball effect, but it happened.
You know what sticks out? When he made the decision in Dallas and he's going for it. You know, he went for it from the 10. He didn't expect the penalty, obviously. No. So that he was just winging it. He just won it.
And that's what you can't have.
I also think, and I didn't see this anywhere, but I know what he was doing before the half. You have to go for it, I think, before the half. He didn't, but what he was looking at, the difference between 4th and goal from the 2 and 4th and goal from the 3. Because he says that is it the 2 or the 3? That says the 3, and he says, all right, kick it.
Yep.
Inside the 5, me personally, I think you're not inside the 5. And people, you know, I used to fall into it years ago. You probably did too. You think you're inside the 5 way more than you are. You're not inside the 5 a lot, you know, unless, you know, you're that super elite team. So take advantage of being inside the 5. He has to go there because then he kind of looks inconsistent. So because he went, because then he can't go for it the last field goal. You got to kick. You got to attempt the field goal. Yeah. The last because it's 4th and 3.
And then he looks like he's an inconsistent blackjack player. So
the one in the middle, I split the difference with people. I say it's if you kick the field goal there, I'm going to go ugh, but I'm not going to go crazy because it is close. It's more. You have the advantage. Yep. I mean, you have it increases your win percentage because. But if he had kicked the field goal, I would have been like, well, it's a close call. But the fact that it's Campbell,
you know, he's going for it.
You know, I think he was, and somebody who did, I think was trying to learn more, said to me, well, what's the upside of getting it? You don't get any points there. So, well, there's a huge amount of upside. Number one, I mean, you get 4 more downs.
Fresh set of downs, burning clock.
You burn more clock, and now if something egregious happens, you have a closer field goal.
Correct.
But you have to, you know, you also, with the implied odds of the implied odds of demoralizing a defense that it can't stop you on 4th down.
Yeah.
It is a big deal. If you know you have to stop a team all 4 downs, you're not going. Why do you think there's a reason? I say it all the time. You know, the defensive guys stop short. They put up the fist. Yeah. They're excited. They're excited to hold you. They don't want to see you go for it. You know, what nobody brought up in the first game, Kansas City, you know, it's 4th and 5.5, you know, on the first drive. And, you know, we didn't bat an eyelash. He had the thing out. He's going like, hey, he didn't know. And they knew they were going for it. And not only did they get it, but Kelsey catches a perfect pick across the middle, slant, 15 yards. And I replayed it. Look at the defenses. Look at their body motion.
Alignment.
Look if that's completed. It's like, Jesus. And it's Mahomes. And it turns out points were kind of important in that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I listened to Tom Brady has a show with Jim Gray.
Yep.
Every once in a while, I listen to the first half hour of it, and they were talking about the game. And Jim Gray, he said, "I'm still upset at what Dan Campbell did. No mention of the fumble, no mention of the stop, that lack of a stop. Still upset, whatever." And Brady, they asked Tom Brady. So I'm like, "Oh, here we go. Let's see." Tom remembers when he went for 4th and 2 against the Chargers, against the Colts,
Right.
and then defended it. And he said, late in the year, he felt you'd make the other team make mistakes. You let the other teams make some mistakes. So he said, I might have been more inclined to kick the field goal. I'm like, well, isn't that rich, Tom? You had a Vinatieri. He was a Hall of Famer.
Pretty good kicker.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you do, because you got Vinatieri. Let's bring the biggest game kicker maybe ever. It's just no mention like Jim Gray follow up. Oh, what was the kicker, by the way?
Yeah.
The argument I got, I said, you really want Campbell to Schottenheimer this game? I love Marty Schottenheimer. I always liked him. He's definitely a Hall of Fame coach,
but uber conservative.
He played for, and the 1 year they had the top seed in Kansas City. Might have been back-to-back years. And
they lost to the Colts in that game because I just interviewed James Hasty. They were 13-3. We talked about it. Their kicker missed a couple field goals. And
who's the kicker?
I think it was not Johnson. It was not with the mustache. Lowry.
It's Nick Lowry. Go back and look and see how good Nick Lowry was.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. It's
Nick
so
Lowry,
funny you mention that.
Listen, they built a thing for Jan Stenerud or whatever.
Yeah, Jan Stenerud.
Lowry was better.
Yeah, we just talked about that last week. That's funny you mentioned that.
The year of Kansas City had a Marino team beat with the Bird.
Yeah.
When Lowry was young in Miami, they played great. 16-3. Of course, Marino, 4th quarter, comes in at 17-16. Kansas City comes down the field, a makeable field goal. Lowry shanks it.
Yeah.
Now, you had to do it because it was a 40-something. But this is my ultimate backup is you put, especially nowadays, you put all this money into your offensive line, your skill position guys, your quarterback, your wide receiver.
Make a play.
I have to trust that my quarterback, I'll tell you what, who get those 2 yards? Baker Mayfield gets those 2 yards in a big spot. Because if somebody could shoot him with an arrow in the side of his, and he'd still be fighting the guys off, So, but the guy catches the ball. They probably run the play a million times. It's just people are very results oriented. I know you're not completely on board with certain things, but I think you're not playing it by the answers I've got on the other side are just terrible.
I see both sides of it. I see both sides of it. My only thing, and then I want to get to the game and some props.
Sure.
My only thing is that I read the room, right? NFC Championship, the Lions, you go up by 17. Now all of a sudden you're making San Fran maybe do something outside their comfort zone. You can still be that aggressive guy in the Super Bowl, but get there first. That would have been my only reservation. Other than that, I get your side wholeheartedly.
I was shocked he didn't go for it. Up 14.
Yeah.
On the road. You got them on their heels.
Yeah.
They completed a 3rd and 17 on that.
Correct.
Drive.
They couldn't stop.
To me, you're free rolling.
Yeah.
Because they planned for the field goal. They ran a play and they were like, oh my God, look how wide open.
Yeah.
I heard all week you couldn't throw in the middle against St. Fran. And look what they did. Lions did what they did. They didn't change anything.
Yeah.
3rd and 17, they get the first down. To me, I'm free rolling. Get in.
Yeah.
28-7.
Put them away.
Big difference. Listen, go back to the year KC won the Super Bowl. Vrabel had Kansas City on the ropes. At 21-0, he kicked field goal.
Yep.
You're playing. This is the best team in the league. Go for the jugular. And then I always bring up the one which Doug Marrone and Jacksonville with Boyle who's the quarterback?
Blake Bortles.
Bortles. I always call them Boyles. Blake Bortles had
Complete.
and they had a chance. You know, they're up 7, and O'Brien's got 4th and 1. I mean, doesn't he watch?
Yeah.
Does he not watch Tom Brady? I'm like, what? Oh, we need the extra.
Make it. Yeah.
No, you don't. You need more points.
Yeah.
You need more points. Oh, they got to score twice. So what? You don't get 1 first down, you got a problem. And that go watch that whole sequence. Luckily, there's not a ton of Jaguar fans, but I'm aggravated because I didn't want to like the Patriots. And I had, of course, I had, you know, a money line bet on Jacksonville that game because you're getting a lot. But he blinked. Like, have some, you know, I like what Campbell did. I wouldn't have an argument. I mean, I don't care that he didn't make it, but I think he has to go for it on the other one. So the game itself, there's some years, like the year Denver was dogs against Panthers. The year the Legion of Boom was dogs, small dogs against that unbelievable record-breaking or whatever offense that Denver had.
And they waxed them. Yep.
When I have disparity of really good defense, so I have a whole criteria, you know, you can make up your own or whatever. But if I have a good matchup of an unbelievable, you know, top-tier offense, top-tier defense, Super Bowl sample size isn't phenomenal, but I will take the defense because even if I'm in a Week 10 game and I'm at a neutral field, I would tend to look at the defense, or my numbers will kind of shoot me that way.
Sure.
So I don't really, you know, my point is I view that as a pretty big discrepancy, all the way back to like Tampa. You know, Gannon and those guys going in there, oh, their defense is the best. I mean, their offense best ever, whatever. And I thought I had the much better defense. And of course, you know, I didn't know that Tampa Bay had all their plays too. If I'd known that, I'd bet at Tampa for more. Callahan and Lombardi and those guys, they didn't feel the need to change Gruden's playbook. But anyway, I think I did have a favorite in there. The Packers, I had a big discrepancy against the Steelers. So I played a bunch of alt lines, and then I had Packers were -3. And that's the game where Roethlisberger came back. They got a 2-point conversion. They only lost by 6, but that game was never competitive. But then you have off years like this, like the lines, you know, low. It's like the Seattle New England game, you know, from a few years ago, where it's a tough game. Trying to think of another game that was a small favorite. I mean, wasn't San Fran KC the Super Bowl 3 years ago? Wasn't that was a 2 or 2.5, something like that? My memory.
That was a small line. That was a low line. Just
that's the game. That's the year I had a lot of KC futures, and I closed a ton of teasers with San Fran. And if he ran for a touchdown, that last guy. If all he has to do is fall down,
right?
Whoever the running back was, he ran, and if he does the slide on the 5, that game's over. Instead, as he scores and extended the game, it changed the numbers. And I think that's the year Mahomes did kneels. He screwed his over.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and Garoppolo just missed that 3rd down conversion. Would have been a
yes, exactly. That was a big play too. He gave them just fall down, guy, fall down, because then I get everything. But wasn't meant to be. So that's kind of what I did here. Except I don't have my future, of course, as everybody knows, was the Lions.
Yep.
I played the Lions one smart. I did a small, what I call neutral EV bet. I played Detroit plus 7.5, and then I closed a bunch of teasers with San Fran. And I still have a bunch that I will close now with Kansas City. It's a good line to do it. Kansas City will be getting 8. If you have any ones that are open already that won, it's a great situation. I don't like teasing these things with the total. But if you have some kind of an idea that you really love the over, or you really like the under, I can't
Where where are
argue
you
with
with,
you.
some of these player props that always stand out? BetMGM plus 185, team scores first within 5 minutes, scoreless first 5 minutes, and minus 250. We saw the lines went right down the field against San Fran. Everyone's looking at the rushing totals, anytime touchdown, receiving. Listen, McCaffrey's going to get in the end zone, but at minus 225, I'd rather take a flyer on, Rice at 130, right? The rushing yards. See, this is where I think some of these props right now, Pacheco over under 65.5, Mahomes over under 26.5, Debo over under 16.5, and Purdy over under 12.5 rushing yards. He had 48 against Detroit, 14 against Green Bay. And I think he had 4 or 5 games this year where he had over 20 plus, including 57 against Cincinnati to extend plays, even though they lost that game. I actually like a couple of those. And then I think the ones that will stand out will also be, the passing yards, Mahomes, Purdy. I don't see Brock throwing for 300 in this game. I can see a 220-ish type of game, and they
Well,
run
there's
it.
a way to, you could go back and remember, you kind of want to find, there's some disparities in there in some of the lines, some of the prop lines as far as, you don't take the average. Don't ever take the average of what Pacheco's done. You do the difference between median and mean.
Yep.
You want to see so you don't want to do the average there.
So you're saying the last 3 games he's had.
If you do that, you'll find that few of these numbers are slightly off. So then I like another rule of thumb I think is and this happens every year. If you like unders, wait.
Well, let me ask you on Pacheco.
So Pacheco's total 2 days ago was basically, I saw 62.
It's 65.5 now.
People are betting it like crazy. So I put my threshold as around 60, 66.
He's averaged 78 the last 3 games.
I don't care about. I mean,
I'm giving you. No, I wanted to. I wanted to tally it for you.
That's what I mean. The average of
You're
it.
saying don't. I wanted to give you the
I think
average.
you look at all his games because that's kind of a better indication. You're still making an educated guess on is this line.
Meaning the 49ers defense is probably also going to stack the box a little bit, but then you got to watch for Kelsey, right? So if you're stacking the box, maybe Pacheco is going to have to run hard, but maybe he has 50 hard yards in the fourth quarter.
I said if he gets to 65, I was going to play under. Now I'm like, I think it might even get higher. So I'm going to wait another day. And I'm going to look for an under. If I get 66, I'm playing under. I mean, one of the things that can happen, he get hurt. Like there's a lot of stuff in, like when the number was 61 or whatever, I was like,
hey, look what happened. He went out on that drive late.
I think the strategy is
championship game.
A decent strategy is some under that you like. The fact of the matter is, these things are overly shaded to overs because people don't like unders. Now, when I say people, like one smart guy means as much as 100 guys are just playing. Oh, look what Pacheco did last game and playing. They're
on emotion and that recency bias.
But and then a lot of people are doing like I'm doing. They're waiting until this thing goes all the way up because Deebo Samuel's I think went up also, and that's another thing. What if Deebo Samuel? Not Deebo Samuel. What if who's the other guy for KC? Rice.
Christian McCaffrey.
No, for KC. Who might get more touches to screw up Pacheco?
Oh, the other. Well, we know one player. We know it's not going to be Tony.
You never know with Reed. He might wait till they're inside the 5 and run a trick play with the like he did with it. But overall point is, I think if you like an under in those things you mentioned, I think you wait a little bit. I think it was 2 years ago. Cooper Kupp original line. I was like, I'm gonna look at some other things. and then it closed at something crazy. I don't know, 108, something crazy. It just closed way high. So I played under, I think I lost, but I played some alt numbers. That was another game I didn't know. Cincinnati, I didn't really have a side, so I played a couple alt numbers in case. And I played game would fall exactly 3. It fell 3. It was that, so that wiped out all the other things.
By the way, that's not if it's. By the way, 27-24 likely outcome plus 6,600, 20-17, 23.
That's too low. You got to get more. You got to get more than that for that exact score. That's a lot. There's a lot of.
How about 23-20 by San Fran plus 6,000? I mean, plus 8,000.
Yeah, you need like 10.
What do you think? It's going to be like a 31-23.
I think it's safe to say, I mean, you have a rough idea. Either you wipe all that out and say the game will be won by exactly 3 points. I mean, either team can do it.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything more than 4-1. You really need to get more than 5-1 there.
There is one that I like,
which sucks because years ago I probably would have got somebody to give me 6-1. I could play it, but if you wanted to, I mean, it's just the people they're looking at Super Bowl data. This is just it's different than another game, but not that much. Halftime's a little bit longer. The lights are, but yeah, you got halftime's longer. You still have to use the data from all the other games. You know, how many games fall 3, and then you want to get more than what that is. There's other things you can throw in the mix that can make the game fall 3. I think you pick one of the really weird numbers and try to get because some of the weird numbers aren't as weird as they were even 10 years ago. Like 6 is since the 2-point conversion and the prevalence of going for it, 6 has ticked up a little bit. So you might get a bargain for, say, a team wins by exactly 6. When the game fell 13-3 with Rams and KC a few years ago, that wiped out all the 200-1s.
Yeah, the Pats.
That used to be able to get like 150-1 on games. You know, one team will score 3 points. That's gone because somebody crushed that. Well, like whatever zillion dollars. So now you only see 50-1. But I think, you know, if you think there's an under, I actually had it in the Panther
Seattle
Bronco game.
Oh, Bronco. I'm sorry. Bronco.
I had 10 or less. A team will score 10 or under 10. So if either team did it, so the odds weren't as great as obviously exactly 3. But I got a decent price on it, and then I played an alt line on the under. I did play an alt line on this under as well. Number at 43.5. So if your narrative is it's gonna be a close game.
Yep.
And San Fran will stop. I'm sorry, KC will stop San Fran enough that they won't go crazy, and it'll look like the Raven game. That's kind of what you're saying now. It looks, but throws a wrench into that narrative. San Fran defenses look like crap. The last,
and Kansas City's defense looked great in the second half against
Baltimore.
The
last 2 games. But, you know, San Fran plays a different offense than both of those teams. I think, you know, Green Bay on a certain level, and the Lions on a certain level, they play a little bit more wide open, speedy receivers, and Shanahan plays a little bit, you know, uses McCaffrey. They use
Debo.
They use the system.
Yeah.
Not to use a cliche, but they use the system, and maybe you can bend and not break it, and it'll keep the score down. That's the way I'm going. It's not an unbelievable play, but I played it. So
fair enough.
if you like, what'll happen is people will message me and I'm like, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm leaning, you know, under. And I said, just play it then. You know, don't lean yourself out of I hate leans because I hate even mentioning leans too, because it's a free roll. You can lean, but I don't. It was only a lean. If it wins, you be look how great I am. But I think if you're on the fence, play it. Just play. You know, if you play things for maybe 2% of your bankroll, play for half that. That way you get some money out of it. And you know, it wasn't like an unbelievable play. That's why I think you can't flat bet sports because every play is not going to be the same.
I was on San Francisco for the last week plus, and
You want me
I
to
don't know,
talk you
man.
out of it? No, well, here's what I think it's gonna.
They have to play really good defense, and I just saw the Lions kind of
But
have.
do they? Kansas City's only played great
I,
offense against the
I
Bills.
know, but it's
Everybody's
still.
hurt for the Bills.
I know.
The defense was out.
Head coach,
Was
tight
out
end, head
mean.
coach, tight end. They can run the football, and you still have Mahomes. That's my wild card.
Yeah, and he hasn't. What's interesting about him is he hasn't cost. He never cost them a game, even though he's a little bit of a.
No, he's been pedestrian at
You know,
times.
the Tampa Super Bowl when he had 4 guys out or whatever, that gets a pass. But he played horrible
He was
in
running
the
for his life in that game.
second half of the Bengal game 2 years
Yeah.
ago. He played horrible. They had the ball first and goal inside the 5. I don't
Yep.
remember. It was like
Yeah.
a fire drill. It was like with clowns
Yeah.
in it. So if you look at it, you're like, the offense KC still has a little bit of issues.
Of course, with the wide receivers and moving the
Yeah,
ball consistently.
My personal opinion, if I was San Fran, I would force Mahomes into pressure.
Yep.
If he's going to have a track record as good as Brady, let's put some pressure on him. And because there's no Tyreek Hill to beat you downfield, now you run the risk of Mahomes getting out of the pocket and running, but that's another play that killed the Lions at 3rd and 9. And Purdy ran and he kept running.
His legs.
And part of that has to go with a part of the reason that occurred is the same reason, same thing that happened with Josh Allen, and he ran and scored that. He didn't score, but he scored the other game. But he made a big run.
Yep.
At the pocket. If these guys aren't going to slide, I think you absolutely blast them. Like like Sean Payton is probably going to do to one of these guys. I think you have to do it. I'm not saying injure anybody, but I think you have to blast the guy. Don't worry. I'm going to tell my guy, don't worry about the penalty. Blast him like he's a running back.
Yeah.
Make Purdy think of it. You need these if they're going to protect the quarterbacks. They have to, when they run out, they have to at least think about getting blasted. They're not thinking about, if I get blasted, it'll be good. I'm going to get an extra 15 yards. No quarterback wants to get blasted like he's, like it was 2000, or Eric Hipple style 1984, where his helmet's flying off. But I think you have to do it because they thought he was going to slide.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the backs to them. They're not watching. So when they're coming up, they're kind of doing this kind of thing. No, I don't feel about it, but I'm not even saying you should do it. Someone's going to do it.
Yeah, of course. It's going to happen.
You're going to say, listen, I can't. If we're going to play man, because they don't have receivers, and this guy's going to run out of the pocket, you got to blast him, and that goes for Mahomes.
Yep.
For Mahomes too.
Yep.
Not trying to injure anybody, but I would hit him like the way was it Sean Taylor was hitting people in the Pro Bowl practice?
Pro Bowl.
Remember back in the day, Buddy Ryan was blitzing.
Of course,
not
man. You
so
don't have to tell me.
Listen, it's that's what I would do. That was a big play, but to go back to your point as far as betting it, that one of the props I bet is over. That Mahomes will have a rush more than 13 yards. So I didn't do his totals, but gotcha. I think he's going to have one rush.
Breaks out of the pocket.
I'm betting. I had a pretty big. I leaned into a prop last year. I can't believe I didn't get it. I might get it this year. I'm going to play it for as much as over 2 people throwing a pass, which just means because I thought. I actually had a really good number, and I also thought, this means, let's say Mahomes gets tackled, and he's going like this, he's got to sit out of play.
Sure, backup comes.
So you get that. I thought Sirianni might get a little cute,
Yeah.
They didn't. I lost. Big L on my part, but that doesn't mean that can't happen again. So I think you add in a little bit, with the injury protocol, that matters. I don't think that's completely priced in, but it is. But it's not a super popular prop anyway. They'll limit it, but it don't mean you can't play it in multiple places. I am going to play it. And then I just talked you into playing it for something because plus it's fun to watch. I'm like, hey, look, I should play it. They're like,
100%.
Yes. Yeah. I think a popular one now is after Lamar caught his own pass. Now that's a prop up there, and I think it got hit. Oh, which will either quarterback catch a pass, which I think is funny. Now he's got to catch it. Imagine if they run a play and he drops it, right in his hand. I think Brady had that happen. I don't think it was a Super Bowl. It was wide open and he dropped it. But I think that's a fun property, and you can get a good take back on that. That helps as well. But as far as the game narrative, this kind of play, it all plays together. I think it'll be low scoring, and I do think San Fran will win. If I had to do something non-math, and you were like, you know what, just give me what your gut is here. My gut's really, obviously the line's close. It's not like we say all the team's going to buy 20. That's an outlier, for a line like this. So me saying that I think the game's close is kind of cheating because of what the market line is. But I think it'll come down to like a field goal.
Okay.
Or in that range. And maybe nobody looks bad. Like a Shanahan look terrible if he loses 2017 and he didn't make any mistakes or somebody fumbled later. Because everybody's saying this is about Shanahan. He has the the Atlanta thing on his resume. He punted 2 years ago. And, he's got a bunch of, he didn't go for the challenge last year and all that. So I'm trying to think, does he get killed if he loses a close game? If he makes a mistake. I don't like that in a close game, he might not make the best choices. Like he might get tight. But a close game is a team winning by 7. So maybe they go up 10 and Mahomes comes back. This whole narrative, this other narrative I'm hearing the other end is, it's hard to go against Mahomes. Mahomes is 12-1 against dogs who aren't Brady. Yeah, but he's been a favorite in a lot.
Of course, different animal.
He's great as a dog, but it's his team. He has the best defense he's ever had.
Yep.
Which that's the biggest worry here for me is that they're really good on defense. Their pass defense is great, but that's kind of not. San Fran can do a lot of stuff that might not play into that. So what? So you're on the fence. You want to play San Fran now? I can tell. Let's play San Fran. We'll just act like we're big. We're Rare Montana stuff.
Fair enough. Then I'll go with the talk me out. Listen, I know we're tight next week. I do want to, when we recap, I want to get into that Fox, ESPN, the Warner Brothers, the teaming up to potentially launch.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. It's for everybody watching your show, everybody watching with Tony Bruno, everybody watching. This is a big deal. And then what I said that I read yesterday is that the leagues were caught by surprise. So I think you let a week settle, and see who says what, because you're going to start to get quotes. Because the Super Bowl's end, you want to get a quote from Goodell, and you want to
see where we're going with this
to see what's going on with that. How it all shakes out. So we can talk about that. Perfect. I did bet a bunch of college basketball this week. That we can get into next week as far as, and then if you follow my Twitter, go back, or maybe you missed the thing. You see Rick Pitino was putting stuff out about some ideas about how you can help, and I responded to him and I was like, come on, Ricky, let's me and you do it. And my idea is great, and I had people were killing me, but we'll explain it next week.
Perfect.
How good my idea is. It works so beautiful. I want to hug it. That's how good it is. And I'm going to be on a Super Bowl prop chat under Unabated on Saturday. It'd be a lot of fun, because if you want to pick up some props, it won't just be me on there. It'll be probably 4 or 5 hours, about 25 different people in and out. There'll be some sharp people in there who might have a couple of props that you may have not considered.
Awesome. That's perfect. All right. Don't forget, follow the prop at Professor Shine, and his appearance always brought to you by our wonderful friends over at Play It Again Sports. Wishing you nothing but a profitable Super Sunday, along with college hoops as well. And we will do it again next week. Can't wait for it. Appreciate you, pal.
Awesome. Thanks.